Hi, everybody. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us for today's live webinar. Today, we're going to talk about perilous mistakes that men can make in divorce. If you were with us on Wednesday, we talked about some of the mistakes that women tend to make or can make in a divorce. And today, we're going to talk about mistakes that men can possibly make in their divorce. So again, we're coming to you live. We hope to be able to answer some questions as we're going. Give us a shout out or a thumbs up if you can hear us. That would be great. I am following along with you on my phone here. So please know that there's a little bit of a delay. So I might not get to your question immediately. Of course, at the end, we can hopefully have time that I can answer any questions that may pop up as we're going on. You could type questions in the chat box underneath. And again, I'll answer them as we go along or definitely at the end. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you so we can start the presentation. So perilous mistakes men make in divorce and how we can avoid them. Of course, first, our disclaimer, please know that our presentation is general information only, does not constitute legal advice. Please be sure to direct any questions that you have about your situation to an attorney. So what sections are we going to cover? Well, first we're going to do a brief introduction about men and divorce, give you a little bit of factoids and quotes that we found. And then we're going to talk about the mistakes. We found 6 of them that are the most common that we see here at Weinberger. And we're going to give you some tips on how to avoid these errors. Again, if there's any questions that I don't get to while we're doing this, I'll be sure to answer them as we go along. That being said, I would like to actually address a question that we got before the presentation started. This was from a gentleman who indicated that he had recently separated from his wife. She left the marital home. I don't believe they had children together from the question, but he supported her becoming a nurse while she went to nursing school. He was a police officer. He lost his job in the interim, but he supported her while she went back to school and became a nurse and began a pretty lucrative career. And now he's says that he's seeking abandonment and emotional neglect and spousal support because she makes 3 times the salary. So first, let's talk about the spousal support. Spousal support, one of the factors that the courts look at is length of marriage. I'm not sure how long this person has been married. They didn't indicate that. Also, the support while your wife was going to nursing school is certainly a factor that will be considered, as is her new salary. So alimony really is a fact-specific, case-by-case basis. To get more information about your specific situation, I really strongly suggest that you utilize either our direct message or give us a call and come in and talk with one of our attorneys. Our consults are free, and you can get a little bit more specific about how much and if you would be entitled to alimony. With regard to seeking abandonment and emotional neglect, I'm assuming you're talking about the grounds for divorce, that you would want to file for divorce based on abandonment or extreme cruelty. We don't recommend that people file based on these types of cause factors anymore. It's much easier, it's less expensive, it's less stressful for you to file based on irreconcilable differences. It's a no fault. In divorce, you just have to say there have been problems in the marriage. What's important to note is you don't get more or less alimony or more or less property if one person behaves badly in the marriage. It's really, courts look at marriage as a division of a business, and they don't ascribe fault to one party or another and then award money based on somebody's behavior. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm just looking to see now as we're going on. Just bear with me for 1 minute. I just want to make sure that we are live and you can see me. All right. So again, these are the sections that we're going to cover. Hopefully we have some time at the end to answer some of your questions. So let's move on and talk about the introduction we're going to provide you and a little bit of an overview about what it is that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so men and divorce. It's clear that divorce can take a great mental and physical toll on men. This is found by a study done by the Journal of Men's Health. This was published in September of 2013. And it talks about the influence of divorce on men's health in that article. Heart attack, other types of stress-related illnesses. So there's absolutely a correlation between the stress of going through divorce and how that happens, to men and how men are physically affected by that. Here's another great quote that we found, with regard to men and divorce and how they sort of emotionally react and handle it. Men don't often have a network of besties or best friends to help guide them through a divorce. Guy friends are busy with work and their kids' sports schedules, often helping out with coaching duties and whatnot. Dads are busy. You'll get a few offers to, go grab a beer and catch up, but those offers will go away eventually. Usually that's happening when news of the divorce or separation has gotten out there. So divorce for men can be really very isolating, and we hope that changes. We hope that there are becoming more and more networks for men to sort of explain how it is that they feel when going through this process. When a transition is as difficult as divorce, it's understandable that you might want to sort of rip that Band-Aid off as fast as possible just to get the process over. But it's never a good idea to rush the process or make decisions that are really driven by emotion instead of reason. This really may yield to devastating lifelong consequences because, as we're going to tell you later, it's really important to know that decisions regarding property in a divorce, if you make an agreement just to get your divorce over with and it's not a good agreement with respect to property, you may be out of luck. Decisions regarding property are for forever. Decisions regarding children are a little bit more fluid, but this is why it's so important to stop, take a breath, and don't rush through the process. So those perilous mistakes men make in divorce and how you can avoid them. So mistake one, believing that family court judges always favor mothers. We hear this a lot because at one point, way back when, it actually was the case because of what was known as the tender years doctrine. That doctrine was really debunked by psychologists. And what it said was that when children are very young, newborn to say 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, the belief was that it was best for them to be with their mothers and for mothers to have custody during those tender years. Again, this has been widely debunked, and gender now is not a determining factor when courts are talking about custody matters. The laws are purposefully gender neutral, and the courts consider substantial involvement of both parents to be in the best interest of the children. And think about it, now that we have same-sex marriage and relationships, gender is becoming completely moot as an issue when determining custody. So how do you avoid making this mistake? Well, first off, don't settle for less parenting time than you deserve because you assume because you're a dad, you're going to lose in court. This is a mistake to make. Don't go into it with a fatalistic or defeatist attitude. Argue for what you deserve because your child deserves to be in your life and their other parent's life regardless. Be prepared to litigate if needed to assert your parental rights. Now, we don't always recommend litigation because it's expensive, it's stressful, it's time consuming. we here at Weinberger are very much in favor of mediating and negotiating because it really is best for the health of the entire family. But if you're being bullied and your child's other parent is not willing to give you the time with your child that you deserve, then you may have to go forward with a court action and let the judge make the decision. So be prepared to do that. Don't settle because, again, you want to be in your child's life as much as possible. Another mistake we see men making is leaving the family home. Now, there is a danger that if you leave the marital house, you might not be able to reclaim it later. So don't be pressured. That should say don't be pressured. I'm just noticing the slide there. Don't be pressured to leave the house simply because your spouse is telling you that you have to leave the house. You both, if it's a marital property, if it's a marital house that you've lived in with your spouse from the beginning, you don't have to leave. You can stay there. Of course, if there's a violent situation or if it's becoming really untenable, you don't want to put your children in the middle of that. Again, think about what's in the best interest of your children, but don't simply be pressured to leave because your spouse tells you, I want you to go. If you do leave the marital home because it's really just in the best interest of everybody, at the very least, before you go, have a really good parenting plan in place that spells out specifically how you're going to see your children, when you're going to see your children, how you're going to have overnights, how you're going to pick up and drop off. So you're assured that once you leave, you have just as much control over decision making for the children, being able to take them to doctor's appointments, and how it is that you're going to divide your time with them with your kid's other parent. Consider that the court may award the home to the parent with custody. So if you and your kid's other parent decide that you're going to leave the home, she's going to have primary custody and the children are going to remain there, the court may say she gets the home because they don't want to disrupt the children, especially if the children are really ingrained in the community and their school district. Perhaps your children are finishing up middle school or just about to start high school. If the court says the children can remain in the home until they're 18, that could obviously delay dividing the marital home. So it would delay the ability for the house to be put on the market and divided if there's equity in the home. So think about that too when you're deciding who's going to have residential custody and where the kids are going to live. Another mistake that we see happening is guys letting anger sort of hijack their reason. Now, of course, this is a terribly stressful time for everybody. There are hurt feelings. It's a divorce. Divorces are rarely both people being very content and happy. So we understand that you're coming from an emotional place. And that's why, just to sort of add in here, why it's so important to really consider having an attorney represent you in your divorce, because us as family law attorneys, we're able to separate, the emotion. It's not our emotion. We can focus on making sure your rights are protected and your goals are reached. And we can advise you that, as you see here, acting out of spite or revenge will absolutely inevitably backfire, because what's going to happen is you're going to have a huge blowout battle. Nobody is going to go sit down and attempt to negotiate. There's going to be too much anger. Nobody is going to go to mediation, and now you're going to have a divorce trial. And again, that's expensive. It's stressful. It's time consuming. You're going to pay a lot in legal fees. Dial that back before you start thinking about settling or negotiating. Also know that any angry or abusive behavior could affect your settlement or your custody arrangement later. If you're calling your soon-to-be ex and screaming and threatening and using profanity, think that you're ex could be recording that telephone call. And if you're really looking like you have an anger management problem, this is going to come up if you have a custody battle. So really try to control yourself and think about your actions before you go ahead and engage in that angry or abusive behavior. Again, don't engage, don't be hostile, don't be angry, don't use coarse language, especially if it's something that could be recorded or come back to haunt you. You absolutely don't want to do that, no matter if you're provoked. You know, we see this sometimes where the other spouse is really, really trying to provoke people, provoke their other spouse because they want a leg up in custody. We've seen it happen. And you're a human being. If somebody is constantly, picking at you or attempting to get you to react, eventually, if you allow that behavior to get to you, you're going to react. So just don't engage. That's the best advice that we can give you. And if you're having some difficulty controlling your anger, with regard to your divorce, consider a divorce coach or a therapist, because they can give you tools on really constructive ways to sort of get the anger out. And they can offer you a safe space where you can vent and say whatever it is that you want to say, really without consequence. So good thing to think about if you utilize a divorce attorney to assist you, or if you use a mediator to assist you, they can recommend family therapists or divorce coaches to help you, because they use professionals over and over again, and they can direct you to somebody that they feel would probably be a good fit for you. This does come up to the mistake of flaunting a new girlfriend. Bringing a new partner around too soon, whether or not that partner was the reason for your split, will only serve to make your spouse feel badly. And you may say, well, I don't care if my spouse feels badly. Well, you kind of don't want to make a difficult situation worse, because your children are going to feel it, and they're going to feel their mom getting upset. They're going to feel you getting upset. And you don't want to give them the impression that your new partner is going to replace their mother. They're going to be confused, especially if they're little. So bringing a new partner in too quickly is only going to serve to make really everybody in the situation feel badly. How do you avoid it? Well, understand that introducing a new girlfriend or partner could turn your relatively amicable divorce into a really kind of nasty one, because now, do you want your soon-to-be ex and your new girlfriend or partner to now have conflict? That you don't want to add more conflict into the situation. Consider waiting a period of time until after the divorce is final to introduce a new girlfriend to your children. I've actually seen in my practice, I've shown up to court representing one spouse, and the other spouse will show up to court not even for the final divorce, maybe a motion beforehand, and the other spouse will show up with their new partner at the courthouse, which really is a bad idea and serves to do nothing but inflame the situation, which is understandable. So certainly avoid that if at all possible. Another mistake, letting yourself be manipulated. Again, stand your ground if your wife is becoming what we call an emotional terrorist. If your wife is attempting to manipulate you now in the divorce, or if your wife attempted to sort of emotionally terrorize you throughout the marriage, giving in is only going to serve to let her think that going, into the future with your children, that you're going to give in. So it does not work in the long run. Stand your ground. Don't listen to the idle threats of you're never going to see your kids again, or I'm going to take you to the cleaners. They're idle threats, and there's no way that you should give in to these threats, because your attorney will tell you 9 times out of 10 the things that angry spouses are telling their spouse are not grounded in the law and untrue. So don't give into this. Don't let yourself be manipulated. Stand up for yourself. Set your boundaries early on in the process. The divorce is filed. Your spouse is served. If you're the one who filed, upon service, your wife may start attempting to manipulate the situation and making unreasonable demands. Set your boundaries early. Tell her, listen, talk to my attorney about the law with respect to the divorce. I'll speak to you with regard to the children and pick up and drop off and logistics and things like that, but I'm not going to discuss the divorce with you. Again, giving into any drama will only show her that she can indeed control you, not only now in the divorce process, but going forward. Remember, especially if your children are little, you're going to be with your soon-to-be ex-spouse in making decisions for your children for many, many years to come, and even beyond that. There will be weddings and grandchildren. So again, giving in now is only going to serve you poorly going forward. Another mistake is, remember we talked about earlier, wanting to just sort of rip off that Band-Aid just to end the divorce. And I've seen it when I was actively practicing. There comes a point in every divorce case where one or both of the spouses says, you know what, I've had enough. I don't want to go through this process anymore. Nobody wants their divorce to take a long amount of time. Again, for those reasons we talked about earlier, it's expensive. It's emotionally draining. It's not good for the children to be living in conflict all the time. And, I just wanted over position, again, will cause you regrets down the road. So, of course, there has to be a happy medium. We don't want the divorce to take 16 years, but we also don't want to make decisions just because you want to stop the process or get the process over with. Refuse to allow guilt to keep you from a divorce settlement that you can live with. Sometimes if the husband is the one filing and ending the divorce, there's an amount of guilt because he's filed to end the marriage. Even though he's not happy anymore, he's still feeling guilt that he's the one who's quote unquote breaking up the family. And because there's that guilt there can be a tendency to say, I'm so sorry I'm putting you through this. You can have everything. Have the house, have custody of the kids, and have everything in the bank account. Don't do that. It's your right to end the divorce. If you're unhappy, it's the right decision, and it's the right decision for your children. Don't be easily manipulated. Again, be prepared to litigate if your spouse digs her heels in and is unwilling or unable to negotiate with you, to attempt mediation. Be prepared that you might have to go forward. Remember that property settlements are forever. We talked a little bit about this earlier, and custody arrangements can be hard to change. If you go back to court after you've settled your divorce and say, Judge, I'm sorry, I just really was feeling guilty, and that's why I gave her the house, so I want a do-over, the court is not going to entertain that. You're going to be out of luck there. Now, again, custody arrangements, parenting time, all these types of orders, whether they're court orders or you agree to it, a consent order, they're able to be changed because children grow and people move, and the courts understand that. But if you agree that your wife is going to have sole legal and physical custody of your children, and you're not going to have any joint decision making, or you don't agree to any parenting time, and now you want to go back to court and change that, it's difficult to change a custody arrangement. You're going to have to show that there's been a significant change in circumstances, which is, that's a tough hill to climb, even if you have an attorney. So don't try to fix something later if you could do it right, and think about your children's best interest today. Well, that's it for today. We hope you learned something. We hope that if you enjoyed our webinar, you'll like it and you'll share it. Hopefully it can help somebody else if you know somebody who's in need or who's going through a difficult divorce. If you are ready, give us a call. You see our toll-free number there and our office locations. We have a statewide practice, so we can help you in any county throughout New Jersey. You can also shoot us an email. come on in, schedule your free consultation if you want more information or you want to talk specifically about your case. Our consultations are always free and, of course, always confidential. If you want more information about this, visit our website. We have not only information regarding divorce, we have actually this download for you to print out so you can have this a hard copy of the presentation. You can also find information about any area of family law that you think may apply to you. So we have anything from divorce to custody to adoption to domestic violence, blogs and downloads and things that can help you. So visit our website. There's a lot there. And we hope that you, again, enjoyed today's presentation. We hope that you will join us next time. And we hope to see you for our next webinar. We try to do 2 a week. Don't know if we're going to do that next week and not sure of the topic yet, but you'll see posts here on Facebook. So again, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to welcoming you back next